Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Fountain of Wisdom podcast. We are your hosts. I am Mr. Raphael Katota Basisa II.
And I'm Truman Levi Lewis.
And we use this podcast as a beacon of knowledge, logic, wisdom, truth, and understanding. This is our inaugural episode, so I'm highly, I'm highly excited.
This
real giddy.
Yeah.
So I guess we could just jump right into it. We came with the topic of looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
And it kind of dropped into my intellect earlier today when just looking at things from surface value sometimes isn't the most auspicious thing or like the most forward thinking thing that you can do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to delve a little deeper into that with you and see what your thoughts were as far as if you see something, I'll speak to my situation specifically. When you see something that is familiar, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same exact thing that you've seen before. True. It just looks familiar from the surface, and taking things for face value isn't always the most successful thing you can do. And for me, it's just like I get presented with a lot of the same caliber of situations and circumstances, and I know that you're supposed to find the purpose in it. There's a lesson you're supposed to learn before it's a test, right?
True.
So I try to find the purpose in it. Like, why do I go through the same thing over and over and over again? And it can be hard. It can be really, really difficult, especially for me, because it's like, I'm like, oh God, this again. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So like when you're dealt with situations that you may have seen before, or like circumstances that you may have seen before, like, is there a particular way that you deal with those things, or is it you just kind of take them as they come?
Me personally, what I try to do is I try to pluck the seed of success from previous failures. So if I was engaged in an endeavor and it failed, what I try to do is I try to go back and look at where did I fail to, or where did it went wrong to. So when I go back to that situation or a similar situation again, I can recognize the pitfalls, and then I can say, okay, this didn't work. So if this didn't work this time, let's try another approach. So I don't look at failure as failure. I just look at failure as how many times I tried something and it didn't work, so I know what not to do wrong the next time. That's how I kind of go about it in my life.
Well, I mean, that's interesting you said, because if you look at failure, right, they say nothing beats a failure like a try.
That's right. So,
I mean, is the lesson, well, I don't know if it's like that the lesson is something that you have to learn and then you grow from, and then you go through and then you go on to the next test, or you pass that particular test, or if it's a situation where this test is presented to you like frequently as like the test is the growth creator. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the soil that you're being planted in over and over again. I guess it's like you plant corn and then it grows, you harvest,
that's
and
right.
You got to replant that corn and then it grows and it harvests. So are you being planted and grown over and over again, or is it where it's just like, okay, you just haven't learned the lesson that's supposed to be garnered in that process?
It's a combination of things, right?
Right.
You don't know if you actually have good seed or good harvest until you plant, right?
Right.
If you take these seeds, okay, these seeds look pretty good. You plant them, and then your harvest don't come plentiful. You're like, I don't want to plant these next year. I'm gonna see if I can find some better seeds.
Right.
Well, that's the same way it is as it relates to the things that you go through in life. You pluck the seed of success from each failure, and in doing that, then you'll know which way to go.
Right.
You know, that's the best way I can explain that, because each individual have certain things that happen in his or her life. And And when they get to those road of ethics, they have to look at past experiences or past failures. Matter of fact, let me say it like this. It's your experience that you go through that allow you to overcome certain things.
Right.
Matter of fact, me and you had a podcast one time where we actually talked about your experience give you hope, and your hope maketh you not ashamed.
Right.
So there's only two ways that a person is going to learn, okay? You're either going to learn through mentorship, that means someone actually teaching you these things, or you're going to learn through your experience.
Right.
A person that learns through mentorship gets there in a short amount of time or a short period of time than an individual that's actually going through their experience. Because your experience can happen 2 years from now.
Right.
Your experience can happen tomorrow. But for the most part, sometimes it's best to go through it through mentorship, because a person that has already went through it can tell you the pitfalls.
Okay, so there's mentorship, which, like you said, they can the person or the entity or whatever, they can kind of show you the bumps in the road to avoid those. But then there's, once again, perception being, or not necessarily being reality. Maybe sometimes you need those bumps in the road just for your, for your particular experience. Because everyone, we go through a similar experience. Your situation is not going to be the exact same situation that I go through.
That's true.
So maybe there's a little bit of sauce in those potholes that you might need to get just for your experience to to kind of helps grow you a little more. You understand what I'm saying?
Truly understand. My belief is this. That's where decision comes in. To me, decision, like you like to say sauce. To me, decision making is the sauce. You're going to have to get to a point in your life that you say, you know what? I'm going to make this decision. Once you come to the point that you make a decision, then everything else falls into place. Let me give you a prime example. If you say, listen, I want to go on a trip next year, when I get the money, well, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to make the decision first. I'm going on a trip next year. Once you make the decision, then you start putting things in place. You work a little more hours. You put it in the bank. There's things that happens in your life when the thought and the mind become one, and you focus on this thing so much, then that's when the road reveals itself. But it has to be a decision making first. See, that's why a lot of us fail. A lot of us fail because we don't make the decision, or we have life make the decision for us unconsciously. And so therefore you're not thinking anymore. You're only reacting. You think you're thinking, but you're truly reacting.
Yeah.
You get in a situation like, hold up, man, I got to figure out how to get out of this right here. But you don't take the time to meditate, to say, let me be aware. Let me be in the present moment. How do I get out of this situation? Or before I get to a situation, how do I get out of it? Makes sense.
Right. So, okay. So then we go back, sticking kind of to the topic with looking at things. So if you're taking the time to meditate, a lot of times, you'll let pride. I know I've done this a million times. You let your pride get in the way. So when you're looking through the goggles, the pride goggles say, I know I can call Truman, and I know Truman will help me, but I don't necessarily want to bite that bullet and have to call Truman. So fixing that type of thinking, where can you go from not wanting to put yourself in a situation to be humble, for one, and allowing your pride to get in the way? Like where's that? I guess there's that fine line, because I've seen that there's a fine line between a lot of things. There's a fine line between love and hate.
That's right.
There's a fine line between rich and poor. There's a fine line between stupid and ignorant. Like it's a lot of fine lines. So we're like walking that fine line of, I'm looking at this experience, and let's say I'm in dire straits, and I know I have a helper, but I don't want to humble myself. I don't want to. I'm letting my pride get in the way.
They say pride is just like ego, and they say ego means edging God out, right? That's what they say. So I can agree with that, because when you got people say you need a certain amount of ego. Well, my belief is ego and confidence is two different things. Okay, and in life, I don't look at it the same as a lot of individuals. I look at it in a holistic approach. Right. You have what you call dependent. A child is dependent. Then you have independent. The family member is the father or the mother would be considered independent. But you have something that's called interdependent.
Right.
Interdependent is when we depend on each other. So we have to learn as a culture, as a nation, as brothers and sisters, to be interdependent on each other.
Right.
Because you have a set of tools, or a skill set that will allow you to move me along in a direction that I can't do it by myself. But we allow pride and ego to get in the way.
Right.
And when that happens, you're left behind. So we have to get to the point that we do humble ourselves and be able to look at my brother and my sister and say, listen, they got a set of skills that I don't have. How can you help me?
And that's good. It's good you said that, because it's like that'll stop you. Like if I see something in you that I wish I had, and that's what they say, kids that do that a lot. Like if I'm a child and you're a child, and I see something in you that maybe I'm not conscious that I see it in you, but like subconsciously I see it in you, I'll try to attack you because I wish I had that. And instead of me coming to you saying, how are you this type of person? What do you do? You know what I'm saying? Or even just putting myself in your presence to try to get on that frequency. It's like, I'll attack you. Oh man, he ain't nothing. Who is this guy? Who do you think he is? So it's funny that you said that. It's very interesting that you said that. So from the situation of like not seeing things from like face value, if you put yourself in a situation where, like, we in business, right? It's called discernment. Like that's
exactly what it's called.
that's the I guess that would be the term for it. Like being able to discern your way through certain things. Like, do you have any like I guess kind of pain points, or not so much pain points? What the word I'm looking for?
Do I have any pet peeves?
Yeah, something like that. Like, what are there certain things you look for, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to do this? Like, are there certain like landmarks, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a great question. It has to line up with my values.
Okay.
Values,
right.
Values first,
right?
Because if business or whatever endeavor I'm getting involved in don't line up with my values or my philosophy, then there's going to be a clash. And when there becomes a clash, then I can't operate at my full potential.
Right.
So what I'd rather do, I look at my choices, I look at the business ventures that's in front of me, and then I choose. Prime example, I'm in the church. So running a liquor store wouldn't line up with my values. It's a business,
right.
And there's many millionaires that runs that business,
right.
Selling cigarettes. But that don't line up with my values. So that's how I look at what I'm going to be involved in.
Right.
It has to line up with my value. My core values, it has to line up with that.
Now, is there a shifting in like where if you're able to utilize, say, a liquor store as a kind of a point of like shifting someone's mindset? So like, yeah, you come and buying the liquor, but every time you come in here, I got a word for you. You know what I'm saying? I have some words of wisdom, or maybe a Bible scripture. You come from the biblical perspective, so maybe you utilize maybe the business itself does not line up with your value system at that particular moment. But the people who walk in may not have your particular value system as well, but that gives you the opportunity to be able to implant that, to plant that seed, and maybe millions if if you have enough time. You understand what I'm saying?
That's a good point. But the opposite is also true.
Yeah.
The opposite is also true. Yeah. I can help individuals that's not even going into the liquor store.
Yeah.
It's way more grocery stores than a liquor store.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of car washes out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of other businesses that's out there that you can actually be a help to one another.
Right.
To me, it's just as it relates to scripture, my core value don't line up with that. Okay, if God send me, let's say God hypothetically sent me to the liquor store. My personal belief is God will have it where I'm not in the liquor store, I'm on the outside of the liquor store. And then that same person that went into that liquor store, guess what? They have to come out.
Right.
This is just my belief now. This is my belief. I believe that God has a way in his own divine order to make himself known and manifest to individuals. And I don't believe that he'll go against his word to have that done. Right. Make sense?
Right. That makes sense.
So that comes back to the topic. Looks can be deceiving. You have individuals that say, listen, God sent me into this club. God sent me into this liquor store. God sent me into this strip club. Come on now. He can deal with you on the outside. So looks can be deceiving.
Right.
Looks can be deceiving.
Right. So you mentioned timing, right? I guess if you're looking at it from, biblical perspective or versus, just life in general, how significant is proper time? Because if you look at a situation, once again, I'll put myself in it. They say knocking the doors will open. Well, I've been knocking for 13 years, and that door, the door you look for, whatever's on the other side, whatever fits your sensibilities on the other side of that door, it hasn't opened as of yet. So how important is timing? Like looking at it from a situation where I've knocked on 900 doors back this way, that's behind me, and then forward I see 9 million more. So how how important is like, okay, I gotta knock. If I want it to open, I have to knock, and it's just gonna be in divine timing.
You're asking some good questions. Right? See, there's no timing for success. There's no timing when you're going to become successful. See, that's the problem. We try to time success based on physical things that we already seen and can put a time to. Let's use a woman that's having a baby. 280 days, there's conception. When you plant a seed in the earth, there's a certain harvest time.
Right.
You understand? When you go through college, there's a certain college time for you to graduate. High school. So what we tend to do is we try to gauge success and put a time to it.
Right.
And it don't work like that.
Yeah.
I tell individuals, what is one sure nugget you can hold on to about success? You're going to reap what you sow. Faith without work is dead.
Right.
If you continue, I don't care how many steps it is. If you continue to take one step in the right direction, you have to get there. You have to get there. So look at it in that way. If you've already knocked on 900 doors, guess what? That 101 door may be it. But I can promise you, you're 900 doors closer than you ever was.
This is good, man.
Always.
I love this. So just looking from perspective of like business and personal development, because like I said, like you look yourself in the mirror and you may not see what's like, if you have a vision of where you want to be, but you don't look like that as of present. Like what tidbits do you have for people to like keep going? The having the will to keep going and
Excuse me.
Going until that that vision or that manifestation comes. Because it was funny you said there's no time limit. Right. I heard a young lady say that whenever you go to try to manifest things into existence, you put your request out into the universe, to God or whatnot, but you have to take a time limit off it. Like there's no time limit.
There's no time limit.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy that you said that. So like, do you have anything for a person who may be looking in the mirror and they see themselves presently and they can actually see in their mind's eye themselves in the future, but it's a rough road getting there.
Let me tell you something. The individual that can look in the mirror and see him or herself already where they supposed to be, that's the individual you want to be like. Let me tell you why. Because they realize that, guess what? Life is more than touch, taste, smell, see, and hear. Those are only your physical features, or we call your senses, your five senses, right? But everything you see now, as we talked before, is based on your your imagination in the invisible realm. And it took perception, reasoning, intuition, imagination, memory, and willingness. Those are called your higher faculties. You use all these faculties. Everything you see right now was created using those faculties. So the individual that can look at him or herself in the mirror and see themselves better, successful, where he or she wants to be, my brother, they've pretty much won the battle. They're just waiting on it to materialize, to manifest itself.
Right.
The problem is most people use their sensory factors to dictate where they're going.
I can't see it.
They can't see it.
Right.
They use their circumstance to dictate what happens to them. So they continue to get the same result year after year because all they look at is where they are now.
That's good.
You got to be able to look beyond your physical sensory or your physical factories.
Right. So, looking at seeing things from a from like surface level. So, looking deeper, right? So, what should you be ingesting, and not just food wise, but what should we? Because they say, "What careful little eye, what you see; be careful little ear, what you hear." So, what should you be ingesting as far as from a knowledge base or a wisdom base or an understanding base, a logic base that would help you along that journey? Because you got to have that little, you got to have your trail mix, so to speak, or your journey to success or elevation.
It's different for each individual,
Right?
So you have to put a definition to success, right?
Right.
Because to you, flawless capture, that's success. So to me, the individual that's going in the direction that he or she wants to go, and they're actually deliberately doing that, to me, that's success.
Right.
So what do if you need to ingest or digest whatever information they get you to your endeavor? That's, in other words, if I want to be a cook, I ain't got no business taking courses in photos.
Right. Right.
I'm going the wrong direction.
Right.
That's how it works. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a dentist, whatever it is that you want to be, those are the material that you have to digest into the spirit man.
Well, yeah. I was getting into real estate here recently, and one of the guys, can't remember his name, but he was saying, like, if you want to do this, you need to kind of just deep dive into it. You know
That's
what I'm saying? And he was talking about how you should just only listen to podcasts about real estate and only read books about real estate. And I guess it's like when you submerge yourself in water, like it's complete consumption. And if you look at a situation from, I guess, like a deep dive into who you are as a person, I look at it as like the person I am now. I wasn't when I was 18.
That's right.
And then the person I was when I was 23. You know what I'm saying? I'm not now, and the person I was when I was 28, I'm not now.
That's right.
So it's like looking at things from a perspective of what's the thing from Bob Proctor says, if it's a person making a progressive movement towards a goal, that's success.
That's success.
So
exactly, that's what we was just talking about. That's success.
Right. So if we're looking at a situation where you may not have the material things that you want that would, I guess, condone success or whatever, or show success outwardly, what should we look for inwardly as, what is this, the saying, we're spiritual beings living a earthly experience or human experience.
That's right.
So as a spirit, like spiritual being or whatnot, like what should we look like? What should we be looking for from within that shows us, okay, well, we're making those strides forward or upward.
You have to have a measuring stick.
Right.
If you have to have a measuring stick, my belief is you look at someone that's already doing what you want to do. And if you're heading in that right direction, if you're gleaning information from that individual and applying it to your life, then you know you're going in the right direction.
Right.
We said last time that it takes 10,000 hours to be a perfectionist.
Right.
Okay, so if I wanted to be a photographer and I did 10,000 hours, but I did 10,000 hours divided between photography and drum lesson, am I a professionalist? So it has to be focused and it has to be strategic.
Yeah.
it has to be focused. It has to be strategic.
Right.
So that would be the way that I would instruct an individual to go about it.
Right. So I mean, looking from just a situation of like you said, strategic. Like I'm big on order and structure.
That's right.
And having things in line. But it's just sometimes it gets difficult, man. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're in a situation where you want to do, I think it's the balance of it. So I think whenever you set forth to do something different, life has to throw something at you to see if you're really like it's like the test, but it's like I want to see if you're really serious about it. And I know situations I've been put in where I thought about quitting this a million times, man. Like, you know, like, God, why am I still doing this? Am I a glutton for punishment? What is it? But, you know, looking at things from a perspective of even from like photography, the photographer I am now, I'm 10 times better than what I was when I started.
You put in hours.
Right. And if I hadn't gone through the struggles of having cameras break on me in shoots, like I'm setting up for a shoot, the camera just stopped working for no reason. And I'm like, huh? Like I tested you last night. What happened? So I'm looking at it as, had I not gone through those tests or that, you know, that whatever that is, that you know, basketball hitting me in the face from life, or that right hook from life, because you know when life catch you with a right hook, it's oh boy,
yeah, you're gonna feel that one.
Yeah. So just not getting caught up in the, oh man, why is this happening to me? You know what I'm saying? Being able to see past that. Like where would you go for something like, well, I'm sure you have. We haven't gotten into Truman's story as like his life story, but man, it's a doozy. So we gonna throw little tidbits into that. Right, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, from your perspective, like how would you like looking past the right hook from life?
There's a yin and a yang to everything. That's the way I would sum it all up.
Right.
You got to understand that with opportunity gonna come difficulties. With rain gonna come sunshine. With night it's gonna come day.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Listen, that's the way of life. I had a brother told me, he said, you can't separate the ocean from the waves. Meaning the waves are your circumstance that you're going through in life. Man. Some of the waves are small, some of the waves are bigger. But as you continue to navigate the waves, as you learn how to navigate the bigger waves, the smaller waves, at some point those small waves are going to be so easy to handle. Then you're going to get the other waves that, guess what? It's not going to be as hard as the bigger waves.
Right.
So as your life go on, you're going to be able to say, guess what? You're going to be able to draw off the strength and the experience that you had in the past and say, I've seen this before.
Right.
I've seen a similar situation like this before, so I know what's going to happen at the end. So just remember that there's a yin and a yang to everything. That's why you hear the old people say, put up. Don't spend all your money overnight. Put up for those rainy days.
Yeah.
The unexpected. They say, what is the unexpected? The unexpected will happen. Unexpected is just what it is.
Most definitely.
Unexpected. I don't know what it's going to be.
Right.
But it's unexpected.
Right.
So you put up accordingly.
Okay.
That's the same way as you can't separate the ocean from the wave.
Yeah.
You know hard times is coming. But how do you make your hard time manageable? You make them manageable by sitting down, meditating, and saying, okay, if A, B, C, and D happen, how do I solve it?
Right.
Or how do I go through it with less resistance?
Right.
That's what you have to do. Realize that there's a yin and a yang, and prepare. The old people had a saying, say, you hope for the best.
Prepare for the worst.
There you go.
I just wanted to sign off and tell you that if you like this content, please share on all your social media platforms. Leave a comment of your thoughts about what we were speaking of. And leave a comment of things that you would like to hear us talk about.
That's right.
You know, leave us topics, and we'll go through the comments and see what we can find. And we'll continue to try to be the beacons of knowledge, logic, wisdom, truth, and understanding. Fountain of Wisdom signing off.
Enjoy your day.